Well, after I finished the repairs on the Maverick that was wrecked, my attention has turned to Blue, my TJ that I restored a few years ago, and it needs paint. For some reason, I had an issue with the paint, and it alligatored up on the surfaces that are hit by the sun, so I jacked up something, I believe. I don't think it was a problem with the material itself. So my goal is to get this thing prepped and ready for paint in a week. Now, I told my wife Jennifer that, and she said, "What?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "What?" And I was like, so she doesn't believe me that I can get this prepped in a week. Now, I'm not saying the doors, there's a couple dings in the doors, but at least get the tub, the main part, painted. I have the hood already finished. I can put that back on. That's over at the house. I got to bring it back over here. And I've been cleaning up in the shop, painting the floor, things like that. What I'm having to do is take a grinder and grind off all that alligatored paint. And then there's a couple dents. I'll put some filler on top of the fenders, get those prepped out with the air file, prime the crap out of it with a high bell primer, and this thing will be ready to paint. So it sounds easier than it is, but that's going to be the goal. Come on and go with me. You can see on the tops of the fenders right here where I haven't ground down. That's the primer I put on it. These were new fenders too, by the way. You can see where it alligated right badly right here. So it needs to be ground out right here. There's still a couple more spots. I may just take a 36 grit sanding disc to it at this point. Get it good and rough for the filler layer to go over it. You can kind of see there. And then those will be prepped. The sides didn't have any issues, so I'll just sand those down real well, and they'll be ready to paint. There's no body work to do really on the sides. In the back, this is covered by a big huge plate and the LED tail light. So I mean, none of this is really that critical. So I don't think that I'll have that big of a problem getting this thing prepped in a week, getting it ready for some paint. Now I'm in the shop, and up front is my wife cutting hair, so I cannot be super loud with an air compressor going and everything else. So I did buy from Air Advantage Tools a DA that is completely electric. I don't have to wait for the compressor to build up. It's got different settings as far as the speed goes, and this thing is a mamba jamba. I love this DA, and it works absolutely great. This is where we're at in the BAS, that would be boring something sanding, of the prep work on the Jeep, which stinks. What I'm left with is the tub, the two doors, and the tailgate. Got to get those painted. So I was going to do the tub first and then deal with the doors and the tailgate, because then I can put everything back on it, start cleaning up the shop to get the Toyota over here. I've got two dents here that I'll show you that I need to put some filler in, and there's a little bit of rust on the front that I'm going to use some Corosil on, and we're going to prime and paint this booger. So let's take a closer look at some of the things that I'm dealing with right now as far as getting it prepped, besides the nasty dust. The tub was in excellent shape when I bought it. This is not the original tub to the truck, to the van anyway. But there was a little bit of tweaking, so when I put the two fenders on, it's got a little depression here, and that dent is from, I don't know, I think how there's some kind of tweak between the front and the back, and it just put a little bit of a crease right here. So I'm going to fill that in and then paint that. None of the sides flaked off at all, but the hood and anything that was pointed upwards was hosed. This is covered. That's, I think, pretty much covered. So basically, I've just got to take some 180 grit, sand it all down, hit it with some spot primer, wet sand that down, and we'll be ready to paint once I get these two front fenders done. Those are my biggest issue. Clean up the front grille, and I'll be shooting this thing. Now, I'm getting a lot of dust, so I'm going to go ahead and put a drop cloth over it so I don't get dust all in the interior. No reason to do that if I don't have to. So that'll be the next thing. Let me get my drop cloth on, and then we can go start finishing up some of this stupid sanding. Well, I got all the preliminary DA sanding done, and I'm going to go ahead and wash all the dust off. And then what I'm going to have to do is tape up where the bed liner is and just hand sand that with some 400 grit right here around there, and also like right at that edge there. I'll tape it up and then do that little edge, and then we'll be ready to start priming. There's a little bit of hand sanding in these crevices, but for the most part the body works straight except for the tops of the fenders, and that's going to be the next thing I tackle. I'm waiting for some spreaders to come in. This electric DA sander, I can't say enough good things about it, as far as like how quiet it is. You're not waiting for a compressor to build up and run out of air, and it operates almost identical to the air operated one, so the thing's awesome. Alright, I got my little air conditioner going back here. I think I'm going to call it for a little while. Let this dry up, and then I'm going to take a real close look at all the areas I can feel like right here is rough. And like I said, I got to do those areas right next to the bed liner, but it looks really good as far as like the prep goes on the body itself. And most of this is covered. I've got the armor plating that goes all over it, so I feel very confident on shooting some paint on this very, very soon. Doing body work is never the most fun thing you can do. However, I've done my initial shaping out with my Hutchins Hustler. This is the best air file you can get. It uses less air than most of them, and it's body shop quality. So I've used this thing a million times, and it works flawlessly. Let's take a look at where I'm at with it. I'm using the little compressor that I had in my little storage building, so it takes a long time. I'm having to stop, let it build back up. But that's okay, because I'm only having to do these two fenders. Once I get these shaped out, we'll be rocking and rolling. But let me give you a little closer look at what we're looking at. The air file does a great job of flattening it out, and you can see as I go here, there's still a dip here. It didn't even hit that section, so I'll have to put another skim coat on it and build that section up. Go over it with the air file again, and maybe one more skim coat, and this fender will be done. Roll that edge over. But it's looking really pretty good. I can feel that pretty good dip right here. Nice. Alright, starting to get sticky, so that's going to be it for this. Alright, I put a little skim coat on top of this. I'll hit it with the air file. Starting to shape up nicely. And first coat over on this fender. And I'll whack it with the air file as soon as it hardens up. Okay, putting the fork right there in the video. A couple thoughts. Number one, wear a dust mask. When I don't wear a dust mask, the next day I wake up with my nose all stopped up and it feels like I have a cold. So the dust mask actually prevents that. That Bondo dust is just pervasive. It goes everywhere. So keep that from going into your dang nose and lungs. Second thing I would say is you don't have to have a pneumatic air file to do what I'm doing. It just takes a little bit longer. You can use a flat board to hand sand it out, but you do want to use something, some kind of block to sand it out, because if you don't, you're going to get waves in it, and then you kind of defeated the whole purpose. And the third thing is, I hate doing body work like this. I just want to get through it. So keep watching. Any questions, comments, post them below. Next one, we're going to be putting on some high build primer, and hopefully pretty soon we'll be getting this thing in the paint booth. I'm David from the Redneck Garage. Keep turning wrenches.